Hello, my name is Lewis, and with my partner Andrea, our topic today was elderberry syrup for cold and flu. So for the thesis, the approach for our entire project was lots of research studies and clinical trials. Approach to elderberry syrup for cold and flu symptoms seems scientific. So for the proof of benefits, which we will be explaining later. The plausibility is logical and holds up to scientific scrutiny. Elderberry syrup reduces and prevents flu and cold-like symptoms. And for number three, effectiveness, the availability of evidence shows elderberry is effective on cold and flu-like symptoms, again, which we will make more proven later. So the background for how viruses and elderberry syrup works. First off, how do viruses work? Viruses are parasites that can cause damage to attaching themselves to the host, whether it be human, animal, or any other kind of physical substance, and then multiplying. A virus requires a host in order to viable. A virus invades the cells and attaches itself, causing them to become infected. The infected cells then reproduce the virus, causing it to spread throughout the body. Elderberry is claimed to stop and reduce such attachment, which we'll explain later on again. So what is elderberry syrup? Refers to several varieties of Sambucus trees, which has clusters of white flowers and or black or blue berries. The berries are then cooked down into a syrup. Basically, you put it just like any other jam, you let it simmer and add a little bit of sweetener, whether it be honey or sugar. It's a low-calorie food packed with vitamin C, dietary fiber, and antioxidants. So how does it work against viruses and whatnot? In lab studies, scientists have found that extracts of elderberry works in two ways. They block the ability of various flu viruses to invade and infect cells, which stops the viruses from replicating. They activate an immune response to fight the virus in cells that have already been infected. So elderberries in the body. Antioxidants is a very big, crucial part of the elderberries. They produce polyphenols, which is an antioxidant defense. So it's considered elderberries are considered to be rich source of these polyphenols. Therefore, it could be. Oh, go back.
Sorry.
I'm fine. Sorry about that. Therefore, it could be speculated perhaps that a diet that consists of mainly fruits, flowers, and leaves may constitute a potential protective agent against the unfavorable effects of oxidative stress. Not only that, but elderberries are also greatly affect the cause. Elderberries greatly affects the cause of the disease speed by countering oxidative stress with exceeding antioxidant defense. Sorry, my handwriting is terrible. Next slide. So with elderberry nutrients, elderberries may be tiny, but they really are very powerful. Apart from the ample amounts of vitamin A, vitamin B6, and vitamin C, elderberries contain minerals like iron, phosphorus, potassium, and calcium, and a variety of other beneficial compounds. Having the highest number compared to other berries, it's no wonder why elderberries have such a strong effect on the body. Elderberries for cold and flu. So you can see it's the right sambucol is a very big brand that really produces black elderberry formula. Elderberry extract is a form of syrup that has been found to reduce the length and severity of symptoms caused by the influenza virus. Here are the research studies. So the Sambucol study from June 2001 is a double-blind study and a random study. They analyzed blood from 12 healthy donors, which also involved with their cytokine levels. My bad. Compared to other vials, elderberry syrup elevated the inflammatory cytokine levels, activating a healthy immune system to fend off against influenza-like viruses. The results of that experiment showed the increase of immunity to influenza and respiratory complications and shows a drastic increase of inflammatory cytokines. Results, elderberry syrup, sambucol, does in fact impact the influences of influenza. The plausibility of it from a scientific standpoint, logic holds up. The proof of increase in secretin really shows that once those levels go up, influenza and other infections like that go down. The results were compared to the other 12 vials, which has been tested with other specimens. Plausibility continued. Simbucal elderberry extract and its formulations activate the healthy immune system by increasing inflammatory cytokine production. Due to the activation, that allows the virus to run its course faster. That is very valid to assume that this experiment is very plausible. Finding an increase in the levels and finding the correlation of the flu being drawn out makes sense in the science community, which leads them to believe elderberries have antiviral properties, which again really proves that the increase of those levels decrease the amount of time that your respiratory system will be under siege by the virus. The effectiveness with the information gathered from this is, yes, it's very effective against the body. Due to the evidence found from the blood and the effect that has in influenza, we can say that elderberries are effective against respiratory and immune viruses. The approach of scientific and pseudoscience. Honestly, it does pass 6 tests of science. For falsifiability, compared to average medical activator, shows proof compared with 12 other specimens. For the logic, they use facts and numeric proof of increase in the healthy immune system with those levels I was talking about prior. Comprehensiveness used 12 healthy hosts' blood to determine level of how the flu would be drawn out through their body. However, it didn't put into account unknown variables. Honesty seems as though all results have been shown and haven't been forged, though there were times where numeric value was pushed. They would seem to be very gung-ho about showing their numbers rather than showing some results. However, the results really did show. Replicability can be repeated with the data shown, though could be a bit more thorough. And sufficiency. Evidence shows sufficient results of study.
The next study was a study done in Norway between 1999 and 2000. It investigated the efficiency and safety of oral elderberry syrup for treating influenza A and B infections. 60 patients aged 18 to 54 years suffering from flu-like symptoms were enrolled in this random, double-blind, placebo-controlled study during the influenza season. Patients either received 15 milliliters of elderberry or placebo syrup 4 times a day for 5 days and then recorded their symptoms. Symptoms are relieved on an average of 4 days earlier for those taking the elderberry syrup. Elderberry extract seems to offer an efficient, safe, and cost-effective treatment for influenza. This study passes the 6 tests of science as it can be measured by evidence, makes sense, and is up to date. It is comprehensive and it is a true experiment and all factors were considered. There are no signs of dishonesty and all results were reported accordingly. This study would be very easy to replicate, and there have been previous studies before and produced similar results. In the next experiment, we look at elderberry being used in air travel against common cold and flu. This experiment is a random, double-blind, placebo-controlled trial of 312 economy class passengers traveling from Australia to overseas. Cold episodes, cold duration, and symptoms were noted in a daily diary and assessed using the Jackson score. Participants also completed 3 surveys containing questions regarding upper respiratory symptoms and quality of life at baseline just before travel and at 4 days after travel. Most cold episodes occurred in the placebo group. The data suggests a significant reduction of cold duration and severity in air travelers who took elderberry. In the next slide, you can see the results of this experiment and that it is a negative correlation. As the elderberry use increases, the flu symptoms decrease. As a result, all 3 clinical studies show to be scientific and pass all 6 tests of science. Studies are in favor of elderberry reducing symptoms of the cold and flu, but require the need for further studies. According to the 3 clinical studies and this little guy, elderberry syrup is a safe and effective treatment for colds and flu-like symptoms. I myself take elderberry in the winter season and personally think it really helps. In conclusion, the approach is scientific. It is logical and makes sense and explains the components of elderberry and how they work on the body to fight off viruses. So it's safe to say, yes, it is plausible. Does it work? Yes, according to several scientific studies, it proves that elderberry does in fact decrease symptoms of cold and flu against the placebo. But as always, there is a need for further studies.
How do I stop the recording?